Hello, and welcome to the Writing on the Wall, The Beast Revealed, Episode 2. We learned in Episode 1 of The Beast Revealed, we saw that the first beast, like a lion, was representative of the increase in knowledge. As the beast was given the mind of man, it was yielded to the beast. And we'll see that. And now we go forward, what comes out of that is we're going to see the second beast. And this is going to get really, from this point forward, it's going to be just in your face. I mean, it's going to be hard to ignore that the Word of God has been fulfilled right in front of us. So let's begin. So before we continue, we need to understand that through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So as the worlds progress, the eons go by, we understand that they are framed by the Word of God. So the ancient world was framed by the Word of God. So as the time passed, the ancient world came and filled in the framework set by the Word of God through the prophets of God. They filled that framework. And the same thing's happening in our day and age. It's the same Word. And as the ages have gone on, it has filled in the framework that the Word of God made for it. It just filled in the pattern so that you can recognize it and see that indeed the Word of God is true and it is coming to pass right in front of us. So that's the first thing we need to understand, that the worlds were framed. So it's a framework, like a house. Like if you see a two-story house, the frame of it before it's built, you can tell it's 2 stories. You can tell where the windows are supposed to be, where the doors are supposed to be, but you can't tell the color or maybe the exact style of windows or the siding. But you can tell the framework. And when you see the house built, you can still recognize it from the frame, even though you didn't know the particulars and all the details. So even though all the particulars and the details were not written in the Word, enough of it is that we can see the pattern. So that's what it is, the pattern of the pattern from the prophecies that we see. As the world has progressed down the timeline, they have gone along with the pattern set by the Word of God. They have filled in the framework set by the Word of God. And we're going to see that now. Okay, so let's check out the second beast from Daniel. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Now, what I'm going to do is show you the pattern. Just show you the pattern using some shapes and colors, and you'll see as we go. All right, so I have the second was like a bear. I just put a green polygon up there, a green rectangle, and it raised itself up on one side. So I put this red panel behind the green to show that the green is just separating one side from the next. It raised itself on a side, on a definite side. So we have a delineation by the green showing that it raised itself up on the other side, just the red. It had 3 ribs in the mouth of it. 3 ribs. These ribs are like beams, planks. They could be on the side, but the word that's translated ribs, it could just be a beam or a plank. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rib in the body. Some sort of protrusion, a beam, a plank, or it could be the side of a mountain, the side of something. It doesn't have to be the side. It could be a beam or a plank. And so I put these 3 beams here to indicate 3 ribs. And it has a mouth. Is it the mouth of a bear? But this is symbolic. So an opening, a hole of some sort. The mouth of a river is called a mouth there too. So an opening of some sort. And it does have teeth. So the ribs are between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ribs in between the teeth of it. Now we see this is the basic framework. Another beast, a second, like to a bear, raised itself on one side, 3 ribs in the mouth of it. Those ribs are between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. This is the pattern I put there in just shapes and colors, just a basic pattern. And let's see what it is. Now remember, we're dealing with the vine of Sodom, the fields of Gomorrah. We're dealing with the last days in which they have gone against the truth, just like the magicians opposed Moses. So they are trying to mimic the vine of Christ, the true vine. They are trying to copy that with the electrical grid and all the waves, the Wi-Fi signals and satellite waves and communication waves that come out of that. So that is where we're starting from, that indeed that is what God is telling us, that this world, this electrified world, is the vine of Sodom and the fields of Gomorrah. So, and this increase in knowledge was the first beast. So the second beast, which we now see the pattern for, comes after that. So let's see what this is. Now, as we look at this second beast, which was like to a bear, remember the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall is a warning to this people of this age, to the people of this age, saying that they have chosen poorly, that they did not choose the true vine, the true rock. They did not choose Christ. Instead, they built a world upon another foundation. Another vine is the vine that they abide in, the vine of Sodom. The world has chosen that. Their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah, of the electrical system and of all the communications, the waves of it. That is their vine. So this is part of that same warning. This is the writing on the wall. The first beast was the increase in knowledge. Man's mind, man's heart, man's mind was given to the beast. The second beast is along that same lines, a warning, a warning. And there it is. I know it's hard to believe, but it is right there fitting the framework. It raised itself up on one side. Electricity flows on one side of an insulator. It is on the inside of the wall, on the inside of the wires. It is always on a side, the inside. It is not just flowing everywhere. It can't. That's the nature of it. 3 ribs in the mouth of it. The mouth being the holes, like a mouth of a river, the mouth of a cave. 3 ribs, the 3 prongs. And I know not all of them have 3 prongs, but the framework fits. And it has 3 ribs, 3 prongs in between the teeth of it. And it has to come into contact with metal, with other metal. It just doesn't sit loosely in the holes. It actually has to come in contact with the contacts for the electricity to flow. It has to complete the circuit, at which point they said unto it, arise, devour much flesh, and it has. So let's look at this a little closer. So as we look and see the framework that the electrical system fills in for the second beast, remember that this is not just coincidence. You could look at it and say that, but if you've watched my other videos, you're going to know that a stack of coincidences pretty high is now forming. I mean, it's been in the Word this whole time. And as we go through it, you see more and more of it. There is no way that all this is a coincidence. All these signs, all these words, all these numbers pointing to one thing. That this electrical system, this increase in knowledge that we have in these last 100 years is written about in the Word of God. It is the end times that they're talking about. It is the beasts. It is the vine of Sodom. All these things cannot be just coincidence. And as we see this, it is filling in the framework. And as we see this, we see that it is on one side. It raised itself up on one side. On the inside of the wall, on the inside of the device. The wires are covered in insulation all through your house on the inside. The whole house is surrounded by this vine of Sodom, this beast which raised itself up on one side. Not everywhere flowing on the floor. It's on the inside. By its nature, it has to be, and it fits the framework in that regard. Now, as we see, it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it. 3 ribs, the prongs that plug into the outlet. 3 ribs. It does go in the mouth of it. It fits the framework. All right, we saw that the beast raised itself on one side, 3 ribs in the mouth of it, and they are between the teeth of it. So as we see that the the cord must be plugged into the wall. It must complete the circuit. It must be between the teeth of it to complete the circuit, to arise and devour much flesh. As we see there, as the prong goes into the mouth, it will rest. It'll be within the teeth. It'll be between the teeth of it. Literally, it fulfills the framework. It has to be. Every time you plug it in, that's just how they work. They have 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And that's how it arises, and that's how it devours much flesh, as it's all the way around us and above us. So the electrical system has fit the framework of the second beast. It has arisen and devoured much flesh. That's what they said unto it, and that's what the world has said unto electricity. They created a system, and they told it to arise, and it devoured much flesh. It has indeed. Our cities, our nation, indeed the entire world has been devoured by electricity, just swallowed up by it, consumed by it. It has fit the framework, and it is not just a coincidence. As you've seen from my other videos, if it is a coincidence, they're starting to get a pretty big stack of coincidences, because this stuff all points to one thing. All points to the fact that the electrical grid and the modern technology on which the world leans on is the vine of Sodom, that the Word of God has been warning about for thousands of years, that at the end there would be an increase in knowledge, and it is here, and the writing is on the wall. What is it like? What is this electrified world like? The Word of God keeps likening it to a fire. In Deuteronomy, we see, for their vine, of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah, their grapes, grapes of gall, their clusters bitter. Their wine, the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps. Well, we learned that the word Sodom means burning. Their vine is the vine of burning, the vine of Sodom. And as we go back to Exodus, which we saw the pattern, then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments. This is them copying Moses. This is them copying Moses as he cast down his vine. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod, because Aaron actually cast down Moses' rod, Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. They did in like manner with their enchantments. And we learned on an earlier episode that their enchantments is the word lahat. It means flaming. Their enchantments. They did in like manner with their flame, their flaming, their enchantments. The vine of Sodom, vine of burning. This is likened unto fire. And as we go on, we see that this day again has been spoken of in the word. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall leave them neither root nor branch. The day cometh that shall burn as an oven. Well, we are in a day that burns as an oven. And we are in this day right here, right now, with their enchantments. The men of the last days, their enchantments have been thrown down. Their rods have been thrown down. And with their enchantments, with their flame, they have mimicked the vine of Sodom. They have mimicked Christ, the true vine, with the vine of Sodom. They have mimicked Christ with the vine of Sodom, the vine of burning. So this second beast, this electrical system, is likened unto fire. It's like fire. Even the wiring, the electrical wires, are called hot. And they have devoured much flesh. They have come and consumed the whole earth. And since they are like fire, since they are actually called hot, it is like a fiery furnace. It is as if the day burns as an oven. Like. The word like in this verse is dima. It is to be like. It occurs 2 times. It occurs in this verse, the second beast, and it occurs in one other verse in Daniel, and it is the verse with the fiery furnace. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. These two words, translated like, connect these two verses, connect the second beast, like to a bear, to the fiery furnace. The other verses surrounding it also use the word like, but they didn't use this one. Only these two verses used this particular word like. This particular Aramaic word, dima, is only used here to connect these two. The previous verse, the first like a lion, that is a different like, and then the following one that says like a leopard also uses a different like. These two verses are connected because this is like fire. It is like being in the fiery furnace. This day burns as an oven. This word translated like, dima, is numbered H 1821. It is numbered with G 1821, and that word is exapostello. That means to send forth, to send forth, to send away, to send forth, to send out. And that is exactly what has happened. The electricity has been sent out, sent forth from the second beast. 1821 is the number. This kingdom is numbered because 1821 is the year that the first electric motor was made, the Faraday motor, 1821. The framework has been set in the Word of God for thousands of years. This modern age has come and fulfilled the words of God. They have fulfilled the word, and this second beast has arisen. It has devoured much flesh, and it is like we are all in the midst of the fire, midst of the fiery furnace. This day burns as an oven. The men of the last days have cast down their rods. They have done likewise. They have tried to mimic the vine, the true vine, which is Christ. They have mimicked it with the vine of Sodom. They have done likewise with their enchantments, their flame. And the reason we see that this 1821, this to be like, is numbered with to send away, send forth, and that is the same year as the first version of the electric motor, the Faraday motor, 1821. Is that a coincidence? Is that just a coincidence like all these other things that you may say are a coincidence? Or is this kingdom numbered? The writing is on the wall. This the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. And we can see it. And there is more and more coming. So the electrical system fits the framework of the second beast. And behold, another beast a second like to a bear. It raised itself on one side. We've seen that the electrical system is insulated, keeping it on one side. It had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. Again, this fits the framework. 3 ribs in the mouth of it, and they are between the teeth of it to complete the circuit. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. And that is exactly what has happened as the electrical system has come over the entire nation, the entire world, and indeed all around us, devoured us because it is in the satellites as well, orbiting in space. It has indeed devoured much flesh. And considering that all of the wires that have electrical potential are called hot, and considering they cover the whole nation, and all through the buildings and in the satellites themselves, considering they are called hot, this day does burn as an oven. It is as if it were fire. It is like fire. It is hot. They have done with their enchantments, their flame. It is as if we are in the fiery furnace. It is as if we are in the flames, because the wiring is called hot. And the writing is on the wall. And that is the second beast. Prepare to hear in the next episode about the third beast.